The role of sales development representatives in 2025. Outbound in 2025. Noisier buyers, bigger committees, higher expectations. Outbound in 2025 feels harder because it is. Buying groups are larger, attention is scarcer, and generic outreach gets filtered out faster than ever. When the average B2B deal involves 10 to 11 stakeholders, SDRs can't win by finding one champion and hoping the rest works itself out. The modern SDR has to create clarity and momentum across an entire committee, often before anyone is ready to talk. At the same time, buyers are increasingly self-directed. When 75% prefer to gather product information on their own and 57% report buying a tool without ever meeting a sales rep, the bar for relevance rises on every touch. If our first message doesn't teach the prospect something useful or help them make sense of a decision, it's perceived as interruption, not help. That's why this role matters more than ever. SDRs are now the front end of revenue, not a calendar-filling function. In our work as a sales development agency, we see the winning teams treating SDRs like revenue owners who influence pipeline quality, not junior admins who just run sequences. Why SDRs still drive growth, even when benchmarks slide? Response rates are down across channels, and it's showing up in the averages. Cold email benchmarks in 2025 hover around 27.7% opens and 5.1% replies, which means you don't earn conversations by volume alone anymore. You earn them by tight targeting, sharp positioning, and a reason to engage right now. Cold calling has the same reality check. Connect rates commonly land in the 3 to 10% range, and dial-to-meeting conversion averages about 2.3%, which punishes teams that rely on brute force activity. The best cold calling services aren't more dials. They're better lists, stronger openers, cleaner qualification, and disciplined follow-up. Even with those headwinds, Outbound remains a growth lever. About 85% of SDRs work mostly outbound motions, and outbound-sourced opportunities average roughly 50% larger deal sizes than inbound. For leadership, that's the simplest business case for investing in an outbound sales agency, an SDR agency, or a stronger in-house motion. Pipeline created here tends to be materially higher value. Redefining the SDR. Buying group Sherpa, not meeting factory. In 2025, the job isn't book a meeting so much as orchestrate a buying group. With 10 to 11 stakeholders involved on average, a single-threaded thread is fragile. One champion changes roles and the deal dies. Strong SDR teams map the committee, engage multiple personas, and hand AEs an opportunity that already has internal momentum. This is also where relevance becomes non-negotiable. Gartner reports 61% of B2B buyers prefer a rep-free experience, and 73% actively avoid suppliers that send irrelevant outreach. So spray and pray doesn't just underperform, it damages your brand. The new standard is ICP discipline, capped account lists, and personalization that reflects a real point of view about the prospect's situation. We recommend measuring SDR impact beyond meetings booked. Activity still matters, but it's a leading indicator. What counts is pipeline accepted, opportunities influenced, and how many stakeholders are genuinely engaged. When compensation and coaching reflect those downstream outcomes, SDRs naturally self-police low-fit meetings and focus on accounts that can actually convert. How high-performing teams execute: ICP, multi-channel, and AI co-pilots. The operating system for SDR success in 2025 starts with ICP enforcement. If targeting is loose, SDRs will burn time and reputation chasing accounts that never should have entered the universe. Tighten the criteria, clean the data, and prioritize fewer accounts that warrant thoughtful outreach, especially when buyers are already predisposed to ignore you. Next is multi-channel execution. Programs that combine calls with email and LinkedIn outreach can lift results by more than 287% compared to single-channel efforts because each touch supports the others. Social warms the call, calls create urgency, email confirms the value. This is why many teams evaluating cold calling companies or a cold email agency end up choosing an integrated B2B sales agency approach instead of siloed vendors. Finally, pair humans with AI instead of letting AI run wild. Salesforce reports reps spend only about 30% of their week selling, with 70% lost to non-selling work. So automation should remove research, enrichment, and logging, not replace judgment. In practice, AI drafts and suggests angles, and the SDR edits for accuracy, tone, and real relevance so the message doesn't read like inbox filler. The best SDRs in 2025 don't chase meetings, they create consensus inside the account. Benchmarks that matter. Build scorecards around quality and revenue. Benchmarks are helpful when they guide behavior, not when they turn SDRs into activity machines. Email opens around 27.7% and replies near 5.1% are a reminder that deliverability and list quality are strategic, not tactical. If your reply rate is below average, the fix is usually targeting and positioning before it's better subject lines. Calling metrics should be interpreted the same way. With connect rates often at 3 to 10% and dial to meeting at roughly 2.3%, we want to see consistent call blocks, strong openers, and evidence of learning, not just more dials. This is where good coaching and clean lists beat sheer effort, whether you build in-house or outsource sales to a specialized outbound sales agency. A practical scorecard blends activity, conversion, and pipeline outcomes. The table below is a simple way to align SDRs, AEs, and leadership on what good looks like in 2025, especially in pay-per-appointment lead generation models where quality control is essential. Common mistakes that quietly kill SDR performance, and how to fix them. The fastest way to undercut your SDR motion is treating SDRs like junior admins. When calendars fill up with data entry, lead routing, and random ops tasks, your top of funnel starves, and it's especially costly when only 30% of a rep's week is spent selling. The fix is straightforward. Automate enrichment and logging, establish clear ownership boundaries, and protect selling blocks like their revenue, because they are. Another expensive mistake is optimizing for meeting volume over fit and intent. If SDRs are paid to hit X meetings regardless of quality, they'll lower the bar, AEs will reject more handoffs, and trust between teams erodes. Instead, set qualification criteria. Give AEs explicit veto power on what counts, and reward pipeline accepted and progressed so everyone is aligned around outcomes. Finally, one-size-fits-all cadences and call plus email only execution fall apart in a multi-persona world. Directors, VPs, and technical evaluators respond to different triggers and live in different channels, and ignoring social signals makes your outreach easier to dismiss. Build persona-specific playbooks, add light LinkedIn outreach services into the motion, and create a weekly feedback loop with marketing and RevOps so targeting and messaging stay sharp. Operational upgrades, specialization, coaching, and the right channel mix. If you want a step change in results, specialize SDRs by motion, not just territory. Net new outbound, expansion, event follow-up, and inbound qualification each require different talk tracks and different timing, and specialization builds pattern recognition faster. This is one reason outsourced B2B sales models can work well. A dedicated cold calling team focused on one motion can iterate faster than a generalist seat that's constantly context switching. Coaching is the second lever. Record calls, review a handful weekly, and coach to specific moments: the opener, the first objection, and the close for next step. The same applies to messaging. Review real replies and non-replies, then refine the first touch hypothesis and follow-up structure, because small improvements compound when you're working hundreds of accounts. The third lever is turning multi-channel into a repeatable system. When call plus email plus LinkedIn is coordinated, you get the compounding effect that drives the 287% multi-channel lift, without resorting to spam. This is where an SDR agency or B2B cold calling services partner can add value quickly. Not just execution, but proven sequencing, list building services, and the operational rigor to keep quality high. What to do next? Modernize your SDR motion without burning a year. Start by mapping your SDR motion against how buyers actually buy. If 61% prefer a rep-free experience, your outreach should feel like guidance, not pressure. Share context, point to a decision risk, and offer a short, specific next step. If buying groups average 10 to 11 stakeholders, build multi-threading into the plan from day one, not after the first meeting. Then audit time and remove friction. With 70% of the week lost to non-selling work, freeing even 10 to 20% more selling time can move the needle immediately. That might mean better tooling, stricter meeting hygiene, or sales outsourcing for research, list building, or even full outreach execution through an outsourced sales team. Finally, choose the operating model that fits your stage. Many teams land on a hybrid: strategy, ICP, and messaging ownership in-house, with execution scaled through an outbound sales agency or cold calling agency that can ramp quickly. If you're evaluating sales agencies, prioritize proof of multi-channel capability, transparent reporting, and a clear plan to protect brand trust while still generating qualified pipeline.